What's up, guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Muscle Talk. I'm your host, Arash Bar, and I have a very, very dear friend and fellow IFBB pro, used to be fellow Classic Physique competitor, but he has left us to move on to the 212 division, the one and only George DaBull Peterson. What's up, homie?
Yo, what's up, Arash, man? Appreciate, you hit me up to do this.
It's my pleasure, man. You were on the top of my list when I was putting the show together. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it. Unfortunate circumstances, man. You know, things are going crazy in New York and in the USA and the whole world. So I got a couple questions for you. First and foremost is, how are you dealing with this? Like, everyone's asking me as you know, as a bodybuilder, you know, it's our career. What are we doing? We have no gym. Even food shopping is tough. So, like, what have you been doing and what have you changed? What's hard for you and how have you transitioned?
Well, I mean, first I want to say, yeah, I know, man, it's been super, super crazy. I mean, it's like feeling like, you know, when this whole thing was really escalating, it was starting to really feel like some I Am Legend, you know, type of stuff going on. You know, like when you see them, like you almost think, like, well, what extent is this gonna go? Are they gonna start like cutting off the bridges where you can't get in and out of New York? You know, it's like really crazy. But you know, yeah, man, it was really crazy because when the shows, as you know, I was prepping for the New York Pro. And when the shows were starting to get postponed, but still New York Pro hadn't been announced that it was going to be postponed yet. I mean, I think I saw that they postponed Pittsburgh Pro and all the other shows. And Pittsburgh Pro was just 2 weeks away from New York. So that was telling me, you know, it's a strong possibility that New York may get postponed as well. Yeah. You know, even though they were saying how you know, this whole thing might be done by like May 10th. That was the date they was given. You know, but I felt like it's no way it's going to be done by, you know, that soon, you know. So I'm not going to lie. As soon as, you know, all this stuff was happening with the grocery stores and the shows being postponed, the first thought that was going to my head being on prep was like, man, should I just go to the grocery store and just start buying donuts and eat all of them? Like, should I just say, just forget it. Let me just go and just eat some donuts. You know, like, you know, those were the thoughts that came into my mind. But you know something? I want to say one thing about the whole uncertainty of the matter. The whole situation being uncertain is what I felt like gave me the thought process to, you know what, let's stay on this diet. I'm going to stay on this diet because since it's uncertain, you don't know if the show is going to happen or not. All right, so let's say the show doesn't happen. But also, what if the show does happen? And if it does happen, you want to be ready. So I said, you know what? Yeah, so I want to say, you know, let me stay on this diet. So I made no changes. I just kept going. Only thing that did change was certain things that, like, you know, that you would do the closer you get to a show, like as far as like, you know, taking any like, you know, fat burners and all like that. I was like, you know, nah, I'm not.
You put that on hold.
Yeah, put that on hold and stuff like that. But just still eating clean. And as far as the grocery store situation, fortunately enough, I mean, like when people were clearing out the grocery stores and everything, I was already stockpile of food. I mean, and also, like, you know, I get I get weekly, I get meals from my meal sponsor, which is MegaFit Meals, every week. So, you know, if it came to a situation where I couldn't find anything ever, like at a grocery store or whatever, I always have MegaFit Meals all the time, you know. So you know, so it was really no problem, you know, as far as food is concerned. Now training, that was the major thing, you know, because when all the gyms shut down, including Bev's, it was like that last training session at Bev's before everything closed down. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? You kind of feel like a soldier, like, all right, like, you know, life, you know, we gotta keep going, like, you know, I can't just sit home and shrink, you know what I mean? That's the thought process, you know what I mean? I could stay in shape by you know, doing push-ups, sit-ups, you know, body weight squats and everything, but as you know, like, if you want to keep muscle, the kind of muscle that you know, we need weights.
And also, you're not in your off season. You're not trying to just maintain. You're moving from the Classic Physique division, which, what was your weight?
I had to be 192.
192. Now you're going to be pushing, and I know you're not going to be underweight. You're going to be pushing 212 dry and shredded. So you're going to be north of 212. I think you're going to be dice the socks ready to go in the 220 range. So, you know, for you guys that are listening, like, listen, the in-home workouts, they're awesome. They're kicking my ass. We can maintain our physiques. We can even improve in some areas, like some weak spots we have that, you know, like the core and stability and all that stuff. But for someone that, you know, one of the best bodybuilders in the world, which George clearly is and has proven himself time and time again, we're you know, he's not trying to just stay in shape. He's trying to shatter that 212 division, come out with a win, and move in steady steam into the Olympia. So what are you doing, man? Because people, listen, you don't know how many DMs and texts I've gotten. So tell me the truth. What's on the down low? Where are you guys training? Is Steve letting you guys in bevs? And for all of you that are listening, no, he is not. I mean, I know a lot of us have in-home gyms. I personally don't. You know, like Juan has some weights at home, and he's training at home. You know, we don't. There's a lot of pros that I see out there that have access to some awesome facilities, and God bless them. I'm personally not blessed like that. I don't really have access to a facility like that. What have you been doing?
Well, with me, I mean, I have a little weight set in my basement. I have like a bench, and I have a few dumbbells, and I have like a little squat rack set up. And I've been making it work, you know, by getting creative with my workouts. I mean, of course, it would be nice to have dumbbells that go up to like, you know, 150, 160, like we have at Bevs. My dumbbells don't go up that high. I mean, at the highest I have a set of 100-pound dumbbells down there. You know, but what I basically do is I should kind of pretty much change up my training technique, where I'm doing more time under tension training, and really controlling the negative, slowing up the reps, really burning the hell out of the muscle.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So and I'm getting sore like crazy after every workout. So it seems to be, you know, working, you know.
Okay, so everyone knows that I'm big on blunt force trauma, heavyweight. I built my physique on really low volume. Since I'm older now and been in the pro divisions, I do higher volume. But George pretty much lives heavy as hell, high volume, kind of like a Ronnie. So just slower, a little bit more reps. I think it's awesome that you're forced to do that, because I think you're going to get some benefits from it. But you know your body better than me. Have you seen any difference in your body, positive or negative?
I mean, I've definitely positively seen some improvements in my physique. I mean, I feel more muscular, you know, right now. You know, I feel like there was no drop off at all from, you know, when the gyms were open to now. I feel like there was no drop off at all. I just feel like, you know, I adapted to the situation, and my progression just, you know, kept going. And another adjustment I made, especially after seeing that the New York Pro was postponed until August 8th. Now, I mean, I'm still eating clean, but my carbs are higher now. So I'm taking more carb meals than I was before. I you know, like I have a little treadmill downstairs, so I'm toning down my cardio. Before I was doing cardio about 6 times a day. Now I'm doing it I took it down tremendously. I took it down to about 3 times. I'm sorry. Did I say? I was doing it 6 times a week. I mean, and now I'm taking it down to 3 times a week.
Okay. So it's safe to say you're still on your diet, you're still eating clean, you're training hard, you're maybe holding yourself on the cusp of 8 or 6 weeks out.
Pretty much, you know. Yeah. But I mean, you know what? I always say, with anything, you have to look at the glass kind of like half full rather than half empty. The way I see it, you know, if everything keeps going, you know, progressively well as far as me training here at home and everything, this just gives me more time to put on added muscle, you know, for my transition into the 212 division. Because I mean, that was, you know, because especially with me having to sacrifice 10 pounds of muscle each year for Classic. Now, like, the joy in doing 212 for me is being able to keep all my muscle and just come in there diced, like you said, you know. So now, I mean, this little delay as far as the show is concerned, my debut is concerned, this gives me just more time to even put on, you know, that much more muscle, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky and stressful for us, man. I'm not gonna say bodybuilders have it harder than anyone else. That'd be very ignorant statement. Everyone's having a tough time. I have people that have lost their jobs. I have friends that have lost their jobs and careers. So it's tough for everybody. But you know, even people that they're not going to work, let's say they didn't lose their job, it's just on pause. Once this is over and they get back to work, obviously it's stressful. They're going to need to catch up, maybe some bills and whatnot. But they get back to work and boom, they start working. For us, that's not the same. You know, not being in the gym for 2, 3, I don't know how many months is going to last, but let's just say hypothetically 3 months. That's a big shift, you know. And a lot of people have been asking me, come Olympia time, is it fair? Is it going to be a fair level playing field? Like, there's a lot of guys that aren't skipping a beat, that have full-blown gyms. And then there's a lot of guys like me and you that don't have access to a full facility. So is it an unfair playing field now?
Well, I mean, honestly, yes. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, yeah, it will be an unfair playing field for a few guys who don't have the advantage of having their own facility, like you just said. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just, that's what it is. So, I mean, as far as what can be done about that, I don't know. I mean, like, well, I mean, what's this year Olympia gonna look like? I mean, I don't know. I mean, are you gonna have the same? I mean, like the same top guys up there? And if you do, are all of them gonna look the same? Probably not. I mean, you might see some guys who don't look as good as they did last year because, and it's not even just about the gyms. What about finances? Like, what if one of the top guys is one of the guys who got laid off from his regular job, and his regular job is what was helping him, pay for, his prep and everything. So now he can't do that. What if he have kids and he has to, like it's more than just the gym. So there's so many other factors that come involved, that could really mess up, any competitor's prep, especially the top guys,
That's a great point, man. I was stressed out about it a lot too. Now I've been just trying to focus on myself. Everyone out there just assumes that the pros have some kind of hookup or something. That being said, I see a lot of pros with a hookup or something. They're training at someone's gym or not even, maybe a private gym or something in a basement. So, I think the top guys are getting it in somewhere or another. What the Olympia is going to look like and what the lineup's going to look like, I have no clue. It's going to be interesting. But before we move on, and I forget, everyone's going to be asking in the comments, what's going on over here? You have a lot of cashews. Oh. I remember that's one of your favorite fat sources, right?
Yeah.
So you have cashews for people are going to start putting you on blast for hoarding.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. For everybody out there, if your local grocery store was out of cashews, I'm the one who took them.
You guys heard it here. Hit up George. He's going to send you some cashews. I'm a big fan of cashews. So that's your main fat source.
Yeah, my main fat source. I love it. It's like, cashews to me, I mean, it almost feels like cheating a little bit. Like when I have a little bit of them during my prep, it's like, I get those days, especially when I'm very low carbs. It's like, I look forward to those meals where I do have cashews because that's what helps get me through. They just get to a point where they taste so good, and I truly look forward to them. But yeah, it's my fat source. I mean, I know a lot.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have some raw cashews and some raw almonds that I mix up too. I love them. So if you have cashews as a fat source in a meal, how much do you eat?
I just have about a quarter cup.
Yeah, okay, that's my number too.
And I'll typically have it maybe three times. Out of three of my 6 meals, I'll have it. But
don't try that at home, kids. George is a freak and a monster. So people are gonna be like, I ate a quarter cup 3 times. I got fat as hell. Damn, George Peterson. So George, you 2016 was the first year at Classic Physique. It was the first year I competed in Classic Physique, and I did the Olympia. Yep. That was you competed in Classic in 16 as well, but you were an amateur.
I was an amateur, yeah. That's what we met at my first Classic Physique show, the Eastern USA. Yep. And I look. I mean, I was just watching that because I was an amateur at that time. I was watching that 16 Olympia, and I mean, I just have to say, I mean, to me, I feel like you had that win.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, like some guys, a lot of people write you off when you don't compete, when you don't do well, right? So people have written me off because I've gone down from 16. But, that's a question I've been getting a lot. Like, how do you deal with that? Man, I've only been competing in the Classic Physique in 4 years. How long did Ronnie lose until people even knew his name? How long were some of the best in the world? How long did it take Dorian to get where he was? So I started up top and I came down a little bit, whereas a lot of guys started at the bottom and go up. So my career was just a little bit upside down or backwards, but that doesn't mean that I can never do better. I still don't believe that I brought my best. But back to what I was saying. So 16, you were an amateur, you turned pro. 17, 18, 19, you competed as a Classic Physique competitor and qualified for the Olympia and placed 3rd all 3 years. Controversial, especially in the last one. Oh, so you're the top cream of the crop in Classic Physique on the planet. You're number 3 in the world 3 years in a row, and not because you were off. I mean, you had the size, the conditioning, the symmetry. You had it all there. It was basically just up to the judges of the top 3. Every one of the top 3 looked incredible. And this last year is very controversial. I personally think you were one of, if not the best bodybuilder on that stage. And not only in that division, I think you brought one of the best packages across all the divisions. And you know that. I've told you that in the, off camera. I've told you in person. That's my true opinion. So what, like, being that good, being as good as you were, how did you walk away from that? Or why did you walk away and go to the 212?
Well, I mean, it felt like it was the decision was kind of made for me. I mean, it was like the signs were all there because I felt like I did everything I possibly could, for that weight restriction that I was given. So I had to make 192, and I had to try to be the best, competitive bodybuilder I could at 192. And I feel like, with the help of my coach Justin Miller, that very well, and everything. I feel like we did that. I feel like we brought like a stellar package, for the 2019 Mr. Olympia. And I mean, and I feel like, yeah, I mean, I arguably probably, was the best bodybuilder there on that classic stage. So if let's say, okay, if I am the best bodybuilder on the classic stage, but I still didn't win, what else can I do? Like, if that's just kind of what it feels like, what else can I do? And so, so instead of holding myself back, to try to be, the best classic physique competitor I could be, why not just do what my body wants to do and grow and keep this muscle and just be the best bodybuilder, period, that I can be. Be the best bodybuilder George Peterson can be. And, whether it's classic or not, because look, even though I'm going 212, I'm still, my goal is still to bring a quote unquote classic look to the 212 division. It doesn't mean I'm going to go in there and just put on a bunch of size and look sloppy up there. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to still look aesthetic. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just the signs were there. It's time to move on.
I couldn't agree more, man. I had to ask a question, but I kind of knew the answer myself. Obviously, we've spoken before about this, but, and it wasn't that, the classic physique is definitely holding you back to your absolute potential. You can be a lot bigger, and I think you'll even look better and better as you grow. That being said, you weren't off because of the weight. You really brought it, and you had an incredible package, man. Like, listen, I've been bodybuilding since I was younger. I've been competing since 2014. I've had a hard time making weight and dialing in, looking crisp. And you really, really nailed that. And I got to say, as a bodybuilder that has a good amount of experience under my belt, like, George, when I look at you and your career, like, it's like textbook. You started as an amateur. You started with the same coach, which I think is amazing. If you guys can work with one coach throughout your career, the more you work with one person off season, pre-contest, after a show, they learn your body more. And George has been with the same coach, my good friend and my coach in 2017, Justin Miller. I met Justin in 2014, the first time I ever competed. We just became friends. We hit it off. So you just, like, literally have had a textbook career, and I don't write it off. I know I have my opinion why, but I want to ask you in a minute here. I don't think it has anything to do with luck or politics or anything like that. You've truly progressed immensely from year to year, season to season. I know recently or a few weeks ago you posted some pictures of like what you looked like and competed at in classic physique versus what you were as an amateur bodybuilder, and it's just like it's night and day. And we can talk about genetics and this and that all we want, but at the end of the day, I see you put in the work personally in Bevs when we're not quarantined, and I've seen you grow and improve. And even at that same weight in those 3 years, or well, it went up in one of the years for you, but even at that basically the same weight in classic, I saw you improve without really putting on 10, 20, 30 pounds of muscle. So what do you attribute, like, just such a smooth, successful career thus far?
I mean, I'd have to say it comes down to one word, and that's consistency. Well, actually more than one word: consistency and persistence. Because my first year as a pro wasn't easy. I mean, how many shows I had to do before I even qualified for the Olympia. I mean, I had to do New York, Chicago, Vancouver, Tampa, and after the Vancouver show that year, where I got sixth, I really was like, that was very challenging because I was starting to kind of doubt myself in a way. Thank God I had Justin there to kind of, keep me. We can reach those moments where we get discouraged. And, we feel like, maybe I'm not as good as maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And we have that person who could, come around and keep you mentally strong. And he did that. And we went on to Tampa and we got that win and qualified for the Olympia. And, and it's been, it's been great since then. But I say persistence because it could have been easy for me to just kind of quit right then and there after that Vancouver show, but I didn't. We just kept going, and even after the constant third places at the Olympia, like I never doubted one bit that I could possibly be Mr. Olympia in the classic division. After placing third in 17, third in 18, like I never doubted it. And I mean, and I still don't doubt that I could be the Mr. Olympia in classic physique. But the reason why that I'm moving on is because I feel like, we've been shown that it's not about you being the best bodybuilder on there. It's really about, and I understand it. It's about a certain look because after the 2019 Mr. Olympia, you have people who are telling me that, oh, you potentially could have won 212 at the Olympia too. Now, and if people, and I've heard people say that who are high up, so if that's the case, whether it's true or not, but if that's the case, now let's say they awarded me Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, so I'm Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, but at the same time, people are saying I look like I'm good enough to win the 212, then what's the division between those two divisions? Then it's like a line is blurred. You know what I mean? Because when you look at Raymond, who's the men's physique Olympia, he doesn't look like he could win Classic Physique Olympia. When you look at Bumstead, who's now currently the Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, he doesn't look like he could win open bodybuilding. But if they give it to me, but I also look like I could win the 212, then what's the difference? So looking at it like that, I can understand it. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you know what I mean?
It's a sign from the bodybuilding gods, basically. I totally get it. But I got to say one thing here. Like, well, first of all, for the people watching, listen to George's demeanor. He's not being politically correct because he's on Muscle Talk with Arash Bar, but this is how George is. This is how his mindset is. I talk to him one-on-one in the corner of the gym, and he can say whatever he wants, and he knows it's between us. This is the mindset this guy has that has gotten him where he is. No kicking and screaming, no bitching and moaning. People tell him that he got robbed and he should have been Mr. Olympia in Classic, and he deserved way better than third place. He should have been first, worst case second, and still, he keeps a very humble, grounded mentality. And the reason I even stop to mention this is because that reminds me of the greatest bodybuilder of all time and ever. No one will ever surpass Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie shared that. You share that attribute that Ronnie had, and people always talk about some crazy myostatin deficiency in his genetics, or he took some crazy supplements and drugs and nobody else had. But man, besides his superb genetics, the secret to Ronnie's success was ridiculous consistency, never complaining, man. That guy was placing 10, 11, 12th place with a physique of a god, and he didn't complain. And he worked his ass off and grinded and just chipped away and was patient. And I see that in you. But also, one of the reasons I think you're going to be deadly in 212 because you just have the tools, you have the look, the shape, and the round muscle bellies. But that being said, what you just talked about, a lot of people don't know the hell you went through to qualify for your first Olympia. I remember watching that and thinking, wow, I was getting exhausted watching you and Justin travel the US and try to qualify for that Olympia. And you weren't off. You just weren't getting the qualification. So you take that work ethic and you take that years of going through that, and now you apply it in the 212. Listen, you're going to be a dangerous 212 competitor, and I'd be nervous if I was in the 212 division. For real.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, absolutely. Because consistency brings success. And so I'm a strong believer in that. And I, and I appreciate all those kind words you say about me. And I gotta say, I say the same thing about you. I mean, I see how hard you work. I mean, I see how dedicated you are, and it's definitely truly inspiring. I mean, when you won, I believe it was the Legion show you won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you got that win, I mean, I was freaking beyond happy for you because you truly deserved that. I mean, you were a warrior. You stuck that out. And like you said, I know a lot of people were writing you off. But I mean, I knew Raj is going to pull this out. And now look at you. You got your Olympia qualification, and I know that you're going to bring a stellar package to the whether, I mean, hopefully we have an Olympia this year. I know you're going to bring a stellar package to the Olympia, and and you're going to all those people who writing you off, you're going to prove them wrong, and that's the best thing, that's the best thing when you get to prove the naysayers wrong.
I appreciate that, George. It means a lot to me. And for the guys that are listening, like, a lot of people, me personally, I started bodybuilding at 13. I followed bodybuilding. I was always so curious about the pros, always so curious how they lived, how they trained, how they ate, and how they were so good and consistent. One thing that I've learned is that there's so many variables in bodybuilding that have to come together for us to be at our best, or even at 80%. And I'm watching you, and you're fairly fresh. You haven't been competing at this level for 15 years, right, so you're fresh. We all have our bumps and bruises, but knock on wood, you don't have any serious injuries. You've grown physically and mentally. You didn't make any insane leaps and bounds where guys that are gaining like 50, 60 pounds of muscle in 1 year. I always see that to be problematic. You're working with the same guy. You're grounded. You have that grounded mentality, and you work hard. That's the key. I mean, I know people are sitting there thinking, well, yeah, no shit. We all know that. But no, that really is the key. Like me personally, I bodybuilded, balls to the wall for 15, 20 years before I ever competed. I put on a lot of size. So when I first started competing, I went through shows and I was winning shows. It was easy. It was a breeze. I had all that dense muscle, but also I had a lot of bumps and bruises. So now they're catching up to me. So I haven't been able to train at above 80% for the past 2 years. I've had a lot of little aches and pains and injuries. So there's so many things, mental, physical, emotional, family, that come into play to allow us to be our best. And watching you from a distance, I see everything, your day job, everything, your sponsor, you got a good sponsor, good people in your corner, your coach, your family, all that's in line. And that's more important than anything else. You know what I mean? That's right. The biggest factor.
No, you're absolutely right. 100%. And it's also, it's about, being smart. Like you said, you're the epitome of that. You mentioned that you have some bumps and bruises, some things that, kind of, ache on you and whatnot. And I know, what you've done for that to counteract that is you've somewhat, adapted to that and changed up your training style in a way, because I know how, before originally you said, you used to, go crazy with, with the weights, but now you, because you have those little aches, you've kind of adjusted. So now you're training in a different way where you're not in as much pain, but you still get that same, pump and that same tear down of the muscle fibers and everything. And that's how you get longevity. You know what I mean? I mean, look at, Dexter Jackson, that's why he's been able to keep going as long as he has, because even he said that he's changed up his training style to be able to help him with that longevity. And you're doing that same thing. God forbid, I mean, if I ever have any nagging injuries like that, I'm going to have to do the same thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Dexter is one of the greatest of all time and one of my favorite bodybuilders and also favorite people. He's just the coolest dude. And I think that's a big factor, his mindset. He's not a worrier. He's not an anxious person. Dexter's just cool all the time. And I think that really unfolded. Now, biggest question a lot of people ask, I sometimes it's a little bit more simple than people think, and sometimes there's some secrets and complications. You trained your ass off. You weren't slacking for Classic Physique. You were training. You were big. You're a very illusionary guy. You look a lot bigger. For my weigh-in, I'd be 215. You were 192 or 7. You said 192. But I mean, I was much heavier than you. But you looked so much bigger in my eyes, so bubbly. So it's total illusion physique. But what do you do now? Like George Peterson going from 3rd place in the world, Classic Physique, 192 to the 212 division, where you weigh in at 212, but you're probably going to be a little bit heavier than that and maybe sink down for a day to make that weight. What are you doing different to get that much bigger?
Well, see, that's the thing. And that's a very interesting question. And believe it or not, I mean, the answer to that question is really not that much is going to change. I mean, because even when I was trained, as far as my training is concerned, the way I trained in Classic, you would think I was already training for 212 or open, because I was still, training as heavy as I could, being smart about it. I was still training as heavy as I could. I was never trying to hold back as far as how much weight to lift. I wanted to get as much muscle as I could, Even though I had to be mindful of, of my weight, the only thing that's really going to change now is just the diet. Now I won't have to, and now as far as like carbs are concerned, I may not have to go as low for carbs as I did before. This time around, maybe I get possibly slightly a little bit more refeeds, for this prep as opposed to the last ones, because now I have that, 20-pound jump from 192 to 212. Cardio may be a little different here and there, but I mean, as far as like, overall, it's not going to be that big of a difference,
Yeah. So basically, I mean, for me, it's the same thing. I restricted my caloric intake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like, planting a seed, giving it sunlight, but not giving it enough water, it doesn't grow. So you're going to train the same way. Diet is pretty much the same, but higher calories, and you're just growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like,
and another thing is like also don't want to get too caught up in numbers either. Like as far as like weight, because it'd be great. It'd be great. I mean, and the way it's looking, it looks like I may end up weighing in at 212 right on the nose. But look, I'm going by how I look over everything else. So let's say if I don't look the way I want to look at 212, if I have to come down to 210, if I have to come down to 208 to be like that shredded, ripped to the bone, just nasty and still full and bubbly, then I'll do that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna get too caught up in that number either.
Well, I haven't seen you in about 3 weeks, but from what I last saw, I don't think you're gonna be coming in below 212. What do you weigh right now? That's what everyone wants to know. What do you weigh now?
Right now I'm weighing about 235 right now.
So is this the biggest? I know you've weighed more in the past 3 years, right?
In off season, I went up to 250. I mean, I wasn't really like, it was it was big, uncomfortable, but I wasn't really like, I would never like want to like take my shirt off the way I look.
Yeah, but this is the biggest you've been as far as muscle density and muscle size and the conditioning.
Yeah.
How's it feel?
It's the hardest I've been. Yeah.
How's it feel?
I mean, it feels great, man. It's like that feeling where when you can just feel your muscles, like you feel them everywhere. I feel them everywhere. Like I feel them in my abs. I feel them in my, you just feel like really, it just feels great. And I don't feel like, because when I was 250, I got that lower back pain, and I feel like instead of walking, I'm waddling around. Like I don't have that feeling. You know what I mean? Like I feel, even though I'm bigger and muscular, I still feel athletic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You feel like George is really big in wrestling. And, just like me and like Justin, you're big in comics too. You love comics. So you feel like a superhero now, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
So George, before we wrap up, any plugs, anybody you want to thank, anyone you want to talk about or give a shout out or pay some dues?
Oh, well, hell yeah. We're definitely going to shout out to my sponsor, Redcon One. They've been, they've been down with me for a while now. And this is like my second year being with them. And they're just awesome, awesome. We're always coming out with, new products. Every time we turn around, we're coming out with new products, and it's just exciting. We're not just a supplement company, but we're very aware of situations, and we're doing different things. Like right now, I believe we're giving MRE bars to first responders.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like we're very conscious of the situation, everything. We have this weekend deal going on right now where people go to the site and they make a purchase of $50 or more. They get a whole bunch of free stuff for their home workouts. They get a tank top, shorts. They get a shaker cup. We just coming out with all these great deals for everybody. And so Aaron Singerman and the whole Redcon One team, my boy Rudy. I love you guys. Of course, I got to give a shout out to my coach Justin Miller, the one and only Justin Miller. I always say that Justin like. It feels like Justin is Eminem and I'm 50 Cent. Like it's like, but yeah, man, he's Justin's been a huge, reason for my success, and I owe a lot to him, so I appreciate him. Definitely my family, my mother, my sister, my niece, my nephews, everybody, it's just stood by me. Appreciate you, man, because you're one of those guys that. Like I remember when I was, amateur and I was watching, just watching. You were one of those guys I was watching. It was particularly because I knew I was going to be I was doing a Classic Physique, and just to how we've gotten close, it's truly an honor. And I always have the highest respect for you, Juan, Max. Max looked freaking awesome at this Olympiad. Not the Olympiad, the Arnold.
I called him right away, man. He looked incredible. I appreciate those kind words, bro. It means a lot to me. And a lot of people always wonder, like, how we are pros, how we are together. I'm cool with everybody. I keep in touch with some pros, you know, that aren't in New York, and we're cool, we're friends. But I gotta say, you want to match to the closest, and I consider you guys family, you know. And Max, man, he looked like a bigger Dexter, you know. He was just
Yeah.
razor sharp. I mean, look, I don't ever get into politics. I'm an athlete, I'm not a judge, but I think he deserved to be in that second call out,
I would have had him
especially in the night show, man.
Yeah. I know. Like, I would have had him hire myself. It was, but you know what? Look, when I talked to him, I told him, just this formula you got going on, keep it, and just keep going, because no matter what, it's just like my first year as a pro. You keep going and you keep bringing that fire like that, it's gonna come to a point where it'll be undeniable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So you just got to keep going. And look, and one thing I want to just touch on, this is for for everybody, as far as like the whole situation we're going through right now with the COVID-19 and everything. I know a lot of people worried and scared and everything. People ask me like, am I worried about it? And I gotta be honest. I'm not. And I'm gonna explain why I'm not. Because I'm a believer in God, and I feel like God has a plan for all of us, right? You have to live your life. You have to live your life. Take the necessary precautions. Pray, but don't worry. If you're gonna pray, don't worry. Everything is in God's hands. There's certain things that we can't control. God, like I said, God has a plan for all of us. If God in His plan for me if He had it in for me to say get this virus, then that means there's nothing I can do about that. I'm gonna get the virus. I mean, if I get it, I just have to deal with it. But I don't live your life worrying about that. Just pray, take the necessary precautions every time. Wash your hands, use the hand sanitizer. Just do that. But just believe and have faith that everything is gonna work out. If you know anybody who has it, it's unfortunate. Pray for them. Pray for their family. Hope that and believe that they will recover. Like I said, everything is in God's hands. It's just like when we lost Kobe, early this year. Like a lot of people couldn't understand why. I mean, at first, I didn't understand it, because I was like, wow, like it just felt so sudden. The only way to understand it is to understand it was in God's plan. It was His time. It was His time. You know what I mean? So I just wanted the people to just, because stress can force you to get sick too. So
absolutely,
you know what I mean. So don't.
We're in a very fear-based place as a nation, as planet Earth,
right.
And a lot of people are starting to think maybe we needed this as in a society, and a lot of people need a awakening, so to speak. So, look, be safe. It sucks. No one's happy about this. Be safe. Do what you can to prevent getting it or spreading it. But in the meantime, think about what you can change in your life. Think about where our consciousness as a society is, and I don't think we're in the best place as a human race. I think we could be in a better place. I think we could treat each other a little bit better, more kindness, more empathy, and put focus on different things. Social media and entertainment and everything is great. We're a big part of that ourselves. We're big on social media, but it's not everything, and it's not life. And in some circles, and some people think it's God's plan that this happened for a reason. So let's try to find some reason in it and just come out better on the other end.
Arash, how many times I would, be it like, I'll walk into a public restroom, somebody would be in there, and clearly they just finished using the restroom, and they just walk right out, like don't even wash their hands. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's like so you're right. Like I'm mentioning that because you said that we're not maybe in a good place in society, and you're right, we're not, and we haven't even before the corona came around, because you got stuff like that going on. And if people are doing that in public bathrooms, then that means they're probably doing that at home too. They're probably just using the bathroom, not washing their hands, touching everything, touching their face, everything. Like it's sad that now we need a pandemic for everybody to want to be all hygienic, but this is stuff that we all should be doing regardless. And that's why in one of the posts that I made, I said, after we get through this, I feel like we should all still be following the same kind of hygienic routine. We should be wiping stuff down. If your sweat is all over workout machine when the gym's back open, wipe it down, clean it up. You know, it's just about just natural hygiene, or normal hygiene that we should.
I think a lot's going to change when this is done, and things are going to be. I'm not shaking any hands when the gym opens back up. Listen, if you guys see me in the gym and the gym's open and everything's okay and COVID's done, don't just think I'm going to shake your hand. Don't take offense. I'm telling you right now, stay away. Well, George, listen, man, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you still got a busy work schedule. Thank you for being on the show. Can't wait to see you, man. It's been too long. I used to see you at least a few times a week. I wish you the best this season. I'm going to keep a close eye. I know you're going to make a lot of noise in the 212. I'm very excited for you. And that's it, man. Stay safe in the short term and stay healthy and don't shake any hands.
Yeah, same to you, bro. Appreciate this. And anytime you need to hit me up for anything, I'm right here for you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being on the show.
All right.